A number of people asked me what I had done in my profession as a management consultant and a professor in the field of human behavior. Over the past 70 years, I have developed a system for understanding relationships for different types of leaderships. I'm now working on a book called The Seven Chakras of Leadership. Chakras are from Hindu mythology, which says that there are many circles in our lives that are all interrelated. So I've developed 7 chakras for leadership. The first circle in understanding leadership, and bear in mind they are all interrelated, the first circle is to understand the individual and how one can provide satisfaction. It is a part of the leader's job to fulfill the individual needs of his followers. In the term of a corporation, unfortunately the word subordinates is used, but I consider it that a leader has followers and that he has to help them satisfy their needs. A psychologist named Maslow had developed a theory called the need hierarchy theory, and among his many contributions was the idea that human beings need social interaction and they need a sense of achievement. So part of a leadership function is to provide the proper human interaction and to give the individual a sense of achievement. I had done that in many corporations in the old days by changing straight line assembly lines of say 40 people per line to groups of 10 persons who would sit in a circle and would thereby be able to increase their interaction, would be able to control more of their own destiny, and be able to see the achievement of their labor. So this is but one example of the first circle, the individual and his satisfaction. The second circle dealt with group dynamics and motivation. In my 50, 60 years of working with corporations, all the way from the military, I've had admirals in my class and I've had foremen in my class, and from the school administrators, military people, banking people, education people, I've learned that the second most important thing for leadership to look at, and it's not a hierarchical level of importance, but the second circle he has to deal with is group motivation. There is a great deal of human interaction in any organization. So motivation often involves interaction among groups. Imagine going to a workforce where there are 10 people and 9 people refuse to talk to you. No matter how good you are at it, unless you are a psychologically total introvert, you'll be very miserable in your job. So human beings need a certain degree of interaction. And a good leader takes advantage of this group interaction by providing certain elements of motivation through group interaction. For example, if you work as a group, you should get some kind of a group reward, or you should get some kind of a group recognition. So it's always important to think in those terms. The third circle, or the third chakra, deals with the organization and its goals. Here we are dealing with traditional management, and traditional management always taught you certain management functions, that you have achieve your objectives by performing functions like planning, organizing, innovating, communicating, etc. So this area deals with the management functions, the day-to-day job of a manager as distinguished from that of a leader. Usually, management studies stop with the third circle. However, if you really want to understand leadership, you also have to understand that there are other chakras that impact leadership. So the fourth chakra deals with the system of enterprise and values. Every organization tries to promote certain values within its structure. Our system of enterprise is made up of 4 distinct entities. One is the business world, one is the world of labor, one is the world of government, and the fourth one involves society in general. So a good leader has to look at the involvement of government, labor, the organization, and society in general. And this in turn is affected by our fifth circle, culture and growth. The culture comes from the field of anthropology and mainly deals with the rational, irrational, and non-rational patterns of behavior that certain cultures encourage. The concept of culture can also be applied to corporate culture. There are cultures in the corporations that encourage certain forms of behavior. For example, there was a time at IBM where you could know an IBM salesman as soon as you walked into your office because they always wore a dark suit, a light blue shirt, and a rather nondescript tie. And that was sort of the uniform. And other subcultures, for example, distinguish between the workers and their social life, and others encourage the workers to have a social life in the organization. In Japan, for example, it is very difficult for women to get promoted in an organization because there is an unwritten rule in many, many corporations that women who are married cannot stay with the business. And then the company has a marriage bureau encouraging women to get married. So therefore, that means they're going to get fired, maybe a better word, let go when they get married. The next circle deals with the world and its ideologies. Many of you may recall a time when many of the things we did were motivated by our rivalry with Russia. We would not have had a great space program unless the Russian had put up Sputnik first. You may recall that President Kennedy took on the challenge and said, we'll place a man on the moon. And very important from a leadership perspective, understanding goals. The goal was not merely to put a man on the moon, but to make sure he got back. So the goal was a dual goal, both what they call economy and efficiency. Do the best possible job to get to the moon, be efficient enough to bring the people back. Finally, over the last decade, many, many executives have asked me what they should do about stress. I'm not an expert in the area of stress management, but I've been reading up on the subject for the last decade. And one thing I've learned is that in my own life, I find that sometimes some time off to meditate, to think about things in your own way, to concentrate on things that are good for you, helps. And in my book, I would analyze in more greater detail the concepts of meditation and how to alleviate stress, and most importantly, how to live with oneself in a strong and powerful leadership position. So this is the general idea of the 7 chakras of leadership, bearing in mind that there are no simple answers to complex problems, that all of these chakras are interrelated, and therein lies the main crux of good leadership. Thank you.